for the 3 points. Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero!
Hello everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of The Football Therapist. My name is Ramy Mouganie. I'm a Lebanese Ghanaian national, resident of Dubai, and your host on this podcast that covers all things football. As you may know, the Middle East plays home to some of the most passionate football fans in the world, and I'm no exception. While I'm a massive Real Madrid fan, this podcast has been created to host engaging conversations for fans of all clubs, leagues, and nations, all in a civil and neutral manner. Or at least, we'll try to be. Moving forward, I'll try to host these podcasts as often as possible, and over the course of time, we'll be aiming to have guests from different walks of life join me, yet with one common theme, our love of football. For the first episode, I welcome two dear friends who will frequently join me on these podcasts. First off, my old buddy, with Bianconeri running through his veins, Haytham Mansour. An avid football fan, you can also catch him on Twitter at the handle at @HNM_FC, where you can get an idea of how outspoken he is. Welcome, Haytham.
Hi, Ramy. Thank you.
And my second guest is our resident tactician and our good friend, Yehia Hassaan. Master of all things banter, and obviously being a Liverpool fan, he's been quite, let's just say he's been quite vocal this year. Ahlan wa sahlan, Ustaz Yehia.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So we're going to kick off with a few interesting topics today. Obviously, this is our first episode of the podcast. We're hoping that this thing will keep going more and more, and we'll be able to have a lot more episodes and a lot more fruitful discussions. So we're going to kick off today with a few topics. We're going to cover the Champions League and the top leagues, and also a little bit of predictions at the end of the episode. So starting off, I think we're going to start off talking about the Champions League. Obviously, Bayern Munich champions. So the guys, I think one thing I'd like to think about is what changed from last season under Niko Kovac. I mean, he had Ribéry and Robben, and he had a solid team and ended up losing the round of 16. But then they obviously shifted to Hans-Dieter Flick and ended up becoming a steamroller of a team that went all the way and demolished teams in the process to take the whole thing. So what was the main change to get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from the top, I could see that obviously you had Arjen Robben retiring, you had Franck Ribéry moving on to Fiorentina, so two key players as part of the Bayern machine of the last, 10 or so years. Those players had been replaced by other players such as Serge Gnabry. I mean, he had risen through the ranks. You've had players like Alphonso Davies as well, emerging. The acquisition of Perisic as well. Really, this is such a well-run club compared to other clubs in Europe. So, to be honest, I don't follow Bayern Munich that closely. So I actually just realized that Hans Flick was Jogi Löw's former assistant in the national team.
That's right, yeah.
So, I mean,
so he picked up a few tricks along the way.
He definitely must have picked up a few tricks along the way with the national team.
Exactly. I mean, you mentioned Alphonso Davies and Serge Gnabry, and that was obviously also not watching too much Bayern Munich myself like you. It was a big surprise to me because I had never really rated Gnabry that highly, but he slotted into this team and was very impactful. I mean, obviously, we're going to put aside the obvious, which was that Lewandowski was on amazingly potent year. And Alphonso Davies really coming out of nowhere and establishing himself in this team. But
I mentioned all these names except for Lewandowski. But yeah, key component of the side.
Key component, definitely. My thought was...
And Muller as well.
Yeah, my thought watching Bayern was they were like a well-oiled machine. Especially in that 8-2 demolition of Barcelona. They just did not put one foot wrong.
Another player who actually had suddenly come back into sort of relevance was Manuel Neuer. Mm-hmm. So there was all this hype about Manuel Neuer in the early mid 2010s, let's
Previous
say.
Ballon d'Or nominee.
Exactly. And there were comparisons to Buffon, and okay, me being a Juve fan, I always got defensive about that. Manuel Neuer's trademark running outside his area and controlling the ball and defending and supporting the attack. So, but yeah, his comeback has been amazing to watch, and it's been very, pleasing to see him get back on form.
Something happened.
Actually, what's really interesting is what you said, that they're a very well-oiled machine, or they're very well run, because Flick was actually hired as Kovac's assistant in the beginning of 2019.
Yeah, it wasn't a long time back if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. He was hired as his assistant basically because they weren't sure about Nico, and I think a huge part of it is how negative he was. I still remember when Liverpool absolutely battered them in the quarterfinals. He just came out and said, well, we can't really match them. You're Bayern Munich. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You don't say that. He was extremely negative. Yeah. So obviously they felt something was off.
Yeah.
And then because of that, they hired that guy as an assistant, and okay, you're a caretaker until we figure out, who's going to be full-time. But they didn't need somebody full-time, did they?
Yeah, he got the job done.
Exactly, more than done.
I mean, an interesting point also in this whole thing, and I think you definitely...
They won the treble, actually.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I think Yehia would definitely have a say on this, is that now, after all of this, Thiago going out and Sane coming in. So Thiago obviously moving to Liverpool and Sane going out of Manchester City towards Bayern. In my mind over here, City are really the big losers here. I don't think they really appreciated Sane because I don't think they really replaced him. But who are the winners here more? I mean, unless you think Man City did win somehow, my thoughts here are Liverpool and Bayern are the winners here. But who do you think is more of a winner in this case?
I mean, it depends really on how Sane will end up being in Bayern, because when you look at it, he plays on the left, and that's also where Narby now plays. So does that mean somebody's going to shift on the right and so on? Of course, they're going to start experimenting until the end of the year is going to be a bit clearer.
And probably because Narby does sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
He always switches a bit.
Yeah, but you never know if a player can actually adapt that well. So, I mean, we're 4 or 5 games into the season?
Still early.
Yeah. But it should be okay because Sane is a very, very good player.
Yeah.
I think he never really, like you said, was treated with the importance of, let's say, it was always Sterling that was a star player. And Aguero, obviously, but when he's not available, then whoever was playing forward. He several times Guardiola played, other players in Sane's position. Maybe he didn't have the discipline that Guardiola wanted, but... I think in this Bayern team, especially with how they play in the counter pressing, he will be very, very valuable. Of course, I have to be biased and say that Liverpool are the winners out of this.
Something interesting Bayern are doing ever since Thiago moved out is that they've always had this utility player in Joshua Kimmich, right? He mostly, while Thiago was there, he was playing right back. And the last couple of games with Thiago out of the side, they've actually moved him up, and he's actually playing in midfield now. So I think that goes to your point about playing counter-attacking football, because he's got quite good vision. So they probably feel that with these other added elements in the team, they can keep playing Pavard at right back and have Kimmich control the midfield. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
A quick honourable mention for a player that actually hurts my heart at Bayern Munich is Kingsley Coman. He featured with Juve for just a few few moments. Didn't really impress much, but you could see that the potential was there. And I mean, this quote-unquote tragedy for us, we saw it a long time ago when Bayern Munich beat us, I think about 5 seasons ago in the Champions League. That famous poorly cleared ball that should have been cleared by Patrice Evra, but Coman had scored in that match, and we were effectively knocked out in a very competitive quarterfinal.
Yeah, well, Haytham had to deal with some heartache over that.
Yeah, that's Juve's life story in the Champions League since 1996.
Yeah, well, there's always next year.
There's always next year.
Speaking of next year, so I mean, the Champions League is right around the corner. So we're recording this on October 16th. So not sure when this will be out, but you might be hearing this later on. But we haven't yet started with the group stages of the Champions League yet. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. And my idea is that who got it easy and who's going to struggle? I mean, we were all expecting that massive group of death that happens every year. I didn't feel like there was this real group of death. I think the closest thing to a group of death was probably Group H, which is PSG, Man United, Leipzig, and Istanbul Başakşehir. So just because I know that going to Turkey is always a tough gig, and if United and Leipzig step up, then PSG aren't going to have it that easy. So there wasn't really a group of death, but I felt like that was probably the group of death if we were to label one.
Whereas a tricky group for Man United, I would say. I mean, Red Bull are by no means a walk in the park. PSG is PSG.
Yeah.
Istanbul Başakşehir, it's Erdogan's pet club, but completely unproven in Europe. So I don't know if it's the same expectation as a team that visited Galatasaray or Fenerbahce.
Right. Or Beşiktaş.
Also, fans play a huge role in Turkey. I'm not sure of the fan situation in Turkey right now, but I think there won't be attendance, so that might play against a bit of a saving grace for the visiting sides.
Yeah, true. Because I mean, I looked through them, and that's what I felt was the closest group to a group of death. Because you look at Group A, it's Bayern Munich and Atletico mainly seem to be going through. Group E, it's Sevilla and Chelsea. Group B, sorry, that's Group E. Group B is Real Madrid and Inter. I think the ones who got it really easy were Dortmund. So they're in the group with Zenit, Lazio, and Club Brugge. I mean, all teams that tend to step up in Europe, but there's also that equal amount of chance that they will be dismal. And Dortmund also rely a lot on the yellow wall, don't they? Like you said, like you were mentioning about the crowd, and going to Dortmund, going to Sinan Iduna Park and playing is always a daunting challenge for any team.
One of the best football atmospheres historically.
Yeah, so I
haven't been there, but you can literally feel the electricity watching it on TV. When there's fans, of course.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like maybe Dortmund got it easy and United got it tough. That's if I were to choose.
I mean, but United got it tough because they're terrible right now, aren't they?
Considering where they stand,
it's more about
their current standing.
Yeah, but I mean, if we look at Dortmund, I think it's a bit tricky. It's a bit of a tricky. They should qualify. I mean, they have the quality to qualify. But then when you look at it, it's always difficult to go and play in Russia and Ukraine. These games are always difficult. These away games are ridiculous. So
especially when it's at sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's
a tricky one. If they don't do well in home games, and then if away they mess up against Bruges or Lazio, and they might mess up against Lazio. Lazio is a very good team right now. They might, really struggle in it. But they shouldn't. I mean, if we look at it from all of the teams available here, you're right, this would be the easiest group, potentially. I'd make an argument that Group H is the easiest for Leipzig and Paris, just because, Man United isn't going to challenge.
You just had to...
He had to do it.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Which is the group you're actually most interested at looking what the results are? That is not Juventus, from the other groups.
Well, definitely, as a Serie A calcioholic, I definitely am interested to see how Atalanta, if they back up their extremely impressive form of last season, which they are so far in Serie A. I'm always... Although, Inter are rivals, hated rivals for me, but shout out to all Inter fans, no offense. But since Conte is managing them, and I am a huge fan of Antonio Conte's tactics, not really the person and his outspokenness and his comments, and I think even Inter fans might agree with me on that, given the stuff that he complains about, even with managing them. I'm interested to see how Inter perform, how Conte's Inter perform specifically in Atalanta. Obviously, Juventus, I mean, they have a very straightforward group. Ferencváros and Dynamo Kiev, obviously Barcelona being the main challenger. Yeah. So, although fun fact, I heard from a friend that Ferencváros in Budapest, they will be having fans in attendance. So...
Oh.
Probably not a full capacity, but there will be fans there.
I think you're going to beat Barcelona.
Tricky game. I mean, Obviously, it's going to be a Ronaldo versus Messi affair. That's going to
If he gets out of quarantine in time.
If he gets out of quarantine in time, that's interesting. I think Ronaldo is definitely going to kick Corona's butt. So
I thought it was funny. It sounded basically they were saying that he's gonna go to Italy because the quarantine time is 10 days, not 14, so that he can try to make it in time.
Yeah, that's probably something Ronaldo. That sounds like
Something that Juventus would do.
And probably, I wouldn't be surprised if Agnelli advised him to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that the story with Suarez? He almost signed. They got somebody to fake the passport.
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds like Juventus.
Oh God, you want to take a dig at Juventus now?
No, it just really sounds like something Juventus would do. It's like how to go around and stuff, like find the easy way out.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll talk about Juventus more in the Serie A bit. Yeah. Lots of controversy surrounding us now, especially with the Napoli match cancellation and 3 points.
But that's more on the Italian Federation, no? It's not on the Juventus.
Yeah. Okay, since I mentioned it, okay, look, Juventus showed up. Yeah, so rules are rules. Juventus said we're going to show up to a football match, and so they showed up.
No, I don't think Juventus did anything wrong, if we're being honest. Each of them did what they think is right.
Exactly.
So you can't really blame the teams. If there is any blame, it goes
But what Napoli thought was right was breaking the rules. So
yeah, but
was actually breaking
what
the rule.
they did. It's right. The team they just played had 14 positive, and then they started to have a couple of positives themselves, right?
But they still had around 13 players, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but it makes sense what they did. Okay, so see,
Yeah,
that's where I
Listen, Ramy mentioned my Twitter account, and you can actually check my.
You can see what he posted.
You can see what I posted. I think I'm the only Juventus fan that actually empathized with the Napoli fans and said that this shouldn't have happened.
Sure, they had 13 players they could have played. So much empathy coming out right now.
I mean, I think we can definitely take that topic up in a future podcast. I think it's worth bringing up. But for now, I think let's move into La Liga, into the top leagues, and we'll start with La Liga. The first question that I really have on my mind, and I think a lot of fans have on their mind, is what the hell is happening at Barcelona? I mean, all of this off-season drama that talks about Messi leaving, and then he stayed on. He didn't end up going to City. Suarez getting pushed out the way he did. There's now a vote of confidence against Bartomeu, the president, which he will obviously try to fight, but how much he can fight for it, I'm not really sure. So I don't think I've ever seen Barcelona in this much disarray in the last couple of decades. And it makes you also think, are they as weakened as people make them out to be? So because of all this drama, people are saying they're going to be a mid-table team, they're not going to make Champions League spots. I mean, I don't think so. I do think they still have a lot of talent on that team. And at the end of the day, they still have Messi. They still have rising talents like Ansu Fati coming in. Mm-hmm. So are they really as bad as people are making them out to be?
I think they'll be La Liga competitors for sure. I mean, Real Madrid are top of the league right now. But in terms of the Champions League, I wouldn't put them in my hot favorite prediction. I think they'll end up crashing out in the knockout round. I don't see them going all the way. I find it interesting, but going back to the politics of Barcelona, I find it very interesting how Messi did empathize with his buddy Suarez. And I think in that goal.com exclusive interview that he did during the summer.
All of the journalists, it was like goal, wasn't it?
that was a fascinating interview. Messi, he seems very shy and reserved individual. I mean, I don't speak Spanish, so I can't sort of judge his tone or thing, or understand that sort of mannerism. But it's interesting how he sort of voiced his. What's the word? Displeasure with and kind of disapproval with Bartomeu. So
at the end of the day, like you said, Suarez is his buddy, and we don't just say that like sarcastically or anything. They are actual best friends. They go on holidays together, and their families are friends and
drink mate together.
Exactly.
On the team bus.
South American connection. Yeah. Messi was not happy about the whole Suarez situation, and he did not hesitate to voice it out. But he's also not a very like loud bravado kind of person, right? So he's very reserved and he says it the way it is. But I think this was the most vocal I've ever seen him.
Do you guys remember if he said anything during the Sequeda episode or the Neymar episode? He didn't, right?
He
You're
did
actually
not.
right. He didn't voice anything.
That was more Piqué.
Right? Yeah. He didn't
others.
say anything. You're absolutely
Yeah.
correct. But they were also friends.
Yeah, but he did say that he didn't want him to leave. That there's always like news filtering out that he wants him to come back.
He wasn't as vocal as the Suarez
but not
episode.
as no.
So I think it's less about Suarez and might be about the fact that he was, already.
No, but I do think he is
end with,
closer with Suarez on a personal level than with Neymar.
Probably might make sense.
mentioned Piqué. Piqué was actually one of the persons who said after 8-2 in the post game interview, that if I have to leave the game, if I have to leave the club, I'll be one of the first persons to volunteer myself to leave. But yeah, interesting that he still stayed on.
Yeah, I mean Piqué is one of those players that was very vocal about his loyalties. Mm-hmm. But let's be frank. He has not had the best couple seasons.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's dropped off. He's still a highly rated center back, but he's just not. He hasn't been the same.
Yeah.
And if he actually, was saying that, I don't think it's that he wouldn't do it. I just think that Barcelona didn't make the moves to bring anyone who could compete with him, anyways.
Okay.
I mean, Umtiti's obviously fallen out of favor. I think he has a lot of injuries as well. That leaves Piqué and Lenglet,
yeah.
French guy.
Is he French? Yeah.
So, I mean, another thing of interest here, I think, is that it's time for Griezmann to step up. If Suarez is gone, this is Griezmann's chance, right?
Yeah.
Because he's flattered to deceive, is that what they say so far?
Yeah.
So this is his chance. I'm not a big Griezmann fan, and not just because he's Barcelona or because he was Atletico. Mm-hmm. Just we've said this off air at some point that he's quite cringy. Like so with his celebrations and
I think you need to watch his documentary on Netflix. That will change your mind. Might change your mind a little bit about him and make you feel a little bit less cringy about him. I agree. I thought he was cringy as well. And the person, good friend of mine that I was watching it with, also felt the same thing. And we looked at each other and we're like, wow. I mean, I've really changed my perspective on this guy.
So I think about whether they're really as down as people are making them out to be. From your perspective, they're not, but they're not going to challenge for the Champions League.
I don't think
per
so.
se.
Yeah.
But I think we are in agreement. It's a bit blown overboard about how bad they are. They're not that. They're still a solid
team to be reckoned with. They got Coutinho back. He's already got 2 assists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's in the starting 11. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But speaking of that Coutinho, here's the thing, right? I really don't think that Griezmann is gonna perform as well this year just because he occupies the same space as Messi. Mm-hmm. And it's Coutinho that's benefiting from Suarez not being there because now he's actually playing on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually more Coutinho's benefit, and he's actually going to have a good season, I think, especially with Koeman. He seems to understand how to get the best out of him. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I think Griezmann is the biggest loser out of Messi staying and not leaving.
Yeah. Or he's going to have to adapt to that right-hand position, because then what they're going to line up is having Fati on the left, Coutinho on the whole, Messi up front, and him on the right.
But will Koeman play over 10? Because he's all about stacking that midfield right now, right?
He plays. So I did watch their last game. I felt there was a lot of transitioning, between Messi and Coutinho on that spot. So they kind of like rotated as they saw fit. It was a little bit like how Ronaldo started to like gear his game go more towards the middle after he started losing that explosiveness on the left. I think that's what they're doing a little bit with Messi as well, playing him a little bit more in a less mobile role, so to speak.
Another interesting player to watch at Barcelona is Trincao. Mm-hmm. Insanely talented player.
He looks good. Yeah.
Similar to João Felix, I think, more or less, if I had to compare him to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They also had a little shift in the right back. They got Dest, U.S. men's national team right back. Okay. I think mainly to make up for losing Semedo.
Yeah.
as well. So they've done a little bit of activity. Coutinho is like a new signing for them.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting
New
to see.
old signing. Yeah.
The old signing.
Are we going to start calling them Netherlands FC soon?
Could be, but I mean, the Netherlands have been known to develop really good talent, but which of them really, in the recent years, did so well at Barcelona? I think the only one I can think of now is the most recent was Frankie de Jong, who I still think has yet to find his feet at Barcelona. Yeah. Then you get Donny van de Beek going to United, but that's still very new, so that needs time.
But I mean, if the rumors were correct, they were trying to get Wijnaldum, Depay.
Yeah.
They tried to get Matthijs de Ligt from Ajax.
Did they?
I would actually make that argument not for Dutch national players, but rather for Ajax players. So Ajax losing even the non-Dutch players like Ziyech, and then also losing Van de Beek. Ajax is one of those teams that I sometimes feel sorry for because they have so much talent and they always end up losing.
One of the best football schools in the world.
Indeed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They reached. Don't forget, they reached the UEFA Cup, the Europa League final against which they lost to Man United.
Yeah. Not to mention their Champions League.
And their Champions League, and then that pretty much the same squad reached the Champions League semi-final, which was cruelly defeated by Tottenham at home. Yeah.
Do you guys think Koeman is going to be there next year?
Yeah. Will he last the season or not? More than a season? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so
really?
because
club legend. No.
Club legend, and also because they're probably going to feel that they need some kind of consistency. They've been through so many coaches, too much turnover in the coaching department for a club like Barcelona.
I actually don't think he's going to stay there.
Really?
Because think about it this way, right? Next year or this year is going to be the elections. So if two things happen, if the first thing you have new president in, which they should, second thing is Messi is going to leave next summer most likely, they're just going to scapegoat him and finally get Xavi to, make the fans happy, which isn't necessarily a better move.
But they'll need to get the recruitments with it. Otherwise, the fans
fine.
won't
Xavi will do the Barcelona DNA and go get to what's it called, La
Masia.
Exactly.
I mean, sticking with, because I think we digressed a little bit with about the Ajax and the Dutch players, and sticking in with La Liga, and just to wrap it up, I mean, okay, so I think Barcelona's issues was a big topic of conversation, but obviously, like we also mentioned, right now Madrid top of the league, no signings this summer, and from my perspective as a Madrid fan, it's usually a jarring prospect for us to not have made any signings. But if we think about Hazard coming back to full health, Asensio coming back from his ACL injury,
2 new signings.
That is pretty much 2 new signings for Madrid. You love that, don't you? Really great young talent, Rodrigo, Vinicius, but. Will the lack of signings come back to haunt us? I'm not sure. And one thing that really, really gets on my nerves is the fact of what is happening to Luka Jovic. This kid was coming off a 27-goal season with Frankfurt, came to Madrid. Maybe you could argue that didn't really get the chance because obviously Benzema is a stationary cog in the Madrid number 9 department. But this kid scored 27 goals in a very competitive league, and he hasn't had the chance to really like show that. And I think he has a major confidence issue. From my perspective, I really would like to see him get a bit more chances to show what he can do. In the last couple of games, Zidane played him. He didn't score, but he created a lot of chances, and he showed flashes of that potential. So I think if you take the Hazard, Jovic, Asensio factor into play, Odegaard coming back from loan, having an amazing year at Sociedad. I still, and I may be biased in saying this, I still do see Madrid as dominating the league this year. Maybe even a chance at a treble if they can stay healthy and rediscover the goal scoring touch, because they've been great on defense. It's just that they've been suffering on offense ever since Ronaldo left. If Jovic and Asensio and Hazard can pick up that goal-scoring knack, then sky's the limit for them.
Yeah, I think it's more on Hazard. I think the double is very realistic for Madrid this year. It's just Champions League. It really depends if Hazard comes back, not just comes back, but rediscovers his form in Chelsea. he was always a terror. Whenever he's playing, you know he's going to do something, either assist or goal. So last year was probably the first year in his career since moving, I think it was from Lille to Chelsea. It was the very first time where he didn't have a good season.
Right.
So it's a bit surprising more on him. Jovic, it's like you said, it's probably a confidence issue. He's still young. He's going to discover his form. It's not.
He's 22.
Exactly.
So.
He's still young, and he moved from Frankfurt, which not a lot of people really watch, to Madrid, probably one of the biggest followed teams in the world. So
the thing is about Real Madrid is that it's hard to kind of have a second chance. You either need to prove yourself, or you're either out on loan, or you're kind of on the bench or a substitute. So,
but to that point, if you think about it, funnily enough, do you know who had a terrible first year at Real Madrid?
Oh,
Luka Modric.
Okay.
Luka Modric was being called to be cut by the Madrid fans, and I'll say this flat out: Madrid fans, we're friggin' annoying. Like as soon as somebody messes up, it's like send him to the chopping block.
You need to see Juve Twitter.
Juve Twitter, yeah. But Luka Modric had a terrible first season, was called for it to get cut, and then look at it, a couple years later, 4 Champions Leagues, Ballon d'Or winner, and arguably one of the finest midfielders in the world. He's 35. And he's still going strong. I wouldn't say strong as his Ballon d'Or year, but so that Madrid does have that element. But in the cases where they've given the chance, the players have delivered, and I really hope that Jovic could do that.
Do you think he will? I mean, not to dwell too much on Jovic, but okay. I mean, he's not Serb, but I believe he was Croatian. Mateo Kovacic.
He's Serb.
Jovic is Serb, but Kovacic, will he suffer this kind of same fate as Kovacic? I know different positions, but like they were.
So Kovacic, I love Kovacic.
I think he's a very intelligent player, by the way.
Extremely intelligent, great vision, great control of the ball. Defense splitting passes, beautiful. Kovacic was just unlucky to be on a team that had Kroos and Modric on it. Right. Where obviously when you have 2 midfielders like that, someone as creative as Modric and someone as accurate and a midfield general like Kroos, who has like a 95% pass success rate, it's going to be hard to break into that team. And Casemiro will not move. He's Zidane's secret weapon.
Yeah, he
is. The midfield is pretty packed in Madrid. And
that's a great goal in that 2017 final versus Juve. Yeah, won't forget that.
You won't forget that in a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, look, bottom line, Madrid have always had a case of the midfield being a bit packed.
Sorry, I have to interrupt. So he's saying 2017 final because remember there are more than one. That Madrid also won.
Right. And this is the banter we were talking about.
Do you remember?
And this is the part where we kick Yehia off the podcast. It's his debut and it's his final
appearance.
Final appearance.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on Madrid, and I think I'll be having probably separate episodes where it will be very Madrid geared, and I could cover the Jovic topic and Hazard topic a little bit more. Just being wary of time, I think I will move into the EPL now. And obviously, the EPL being the league that it is, everyone is talking about a lot of the same topics. But the one thing that I want to deviate away from the usual topics in this case and talk about right now is I want to talk about Everton. Because Everton really, the emergence of Everton this year was really interesting to see for a neutral like me. Historically, and I think you'd probably have Liverpool and Everton, eternal rivalry. You'll have a lot to say on this. But 12th place last season, and then James Rodriguez and Alan and Doucouré signed in. Walcott gets loaned out to Southampton, and all of a sudden Sigurdsson, Davies and Gomez are no longer guaranteed starters. I can speak for James and say that they have landed a gem in that kind of player. But suddenly we're looking at a team that was 12th last year, 4 game weeks in, perfect record, only Aston Villa behind them with a game to go, and that's another interesting thing. You like Aston Villa. Aston Villa have only conceded 2 goals. We should talk about that.
They conceded 2 goals and they've got a perfect record, 3 out of 3.
That's also a shocker.
They completely humiliated Liverpool. Sorry, I got my chance to banter.
2017
Sticking
final.
with...
I just kind of, just a quick remark. I mean, I'm not wouldn't say like a hardcore Aston Villa fan, but they're kind of my EPL team since Benito Carbone. was just like with friends, who's your Premier League team? I'm like, I don't really care about the Premier League.
Then we should have a talk in another episode about Grealish. And England,
we should.
The snub with the England national
slightly very talented player, maybe a bit overrated, but I think Aston Villa is the probably best club that he should be in. He shouldn't really go to a Chelsea or a Man United or a Liverpool or something.
Yeah, I think that's something we can.
He'll probably end up on the bench and look mediocre, I think.
The Danny Ings
but he shines
situation.
Perhaps, more or less.
No, come on, that's not fair.
Not Danny Ings this year.
So what was it? Burnley? So look at his highlights at Burnley, and I think Danny Ings was a decent finisher. He's pretty good. And so when Liverpool got him, mediocre.
But the reason was he was injured all the time. He never got a proper chance.
Yeah,
so
that too.
Come on, I absolutely love Danny Ings. That's not.
I really rate Danny Ings, to be honest, but I think there was the issue of him being injured.
Yeah.
And I think we were going to talk about Danny Ings on this podcast, but
so
shout out to all Danny Ings fans out there.
Let's get back to to Everton. So
Everton. The more we don't talk about Everton, the happier I am.
I think we need to talk about Everton. You cannot deny that. That's quite an impressive start. But is it just James and Calvert-Lewin coming all pumped up out of the blocks, or can they sustain this for a whole season? And if they do sustain this form for the whole season, will they be championship contenders?
I mean, championship contenders, I really doubt it. Just out of the block. But the 12th place finish they had last year is a little bit deceptive. They were absolutely terrible in the beginning under Marco Silva. Then Duncan Ferguson took over as caretaker. He did well, and then Ancelotti came in, and he actually made them play in a very nice way. So I think it's not just James or so on. It's the fact that they got a world-class manager in Ancelotti.
Yeah,
and you could really see it. So Ancelotti has been a headache for us every time we meet him in the Champions League. Mm-hmm. We met Napoli twice the year. Both years in the group stages, absolute nightmare games against Napoli. When we played Everton last year, again, it was, I think, 0-0 or 1-1 draw. Absolute nightmare of a game. I I mean, it's just down to Ancelotti and what he does, and probably you can correct me, given the Italian history he has, is that basically he gives his players a lot of confidence. He puts a framework for them, gives them the confidence to go out and actually play some positive football. And I think that's what happened. But here's the thing, I don't believe he is able to sustain, to keep the focus of the players. If it starts to wobble or not go perfectly, that's when Ancelotti teams in general start to suffer. So when they're on a high, they're on a high for a long time. So it really depends. You know, in the EPL, when it comes to the Christmas period, super packed, and it's going to be extra packed because of Corona. I think that's when Everton will start to falter a bit. And if they get through that time period, then maybe they can get into the Champions League. But you have to remember, like, we're talking about City, Liverpool, Arsenal are doing ridiculously well again with Arteta.
That's true. Arteta's really
Spurs, Mourinho's second season usually brings up, and they're doing very well so far. United, you can't really write them off. Beginning of last season, first half absolutely terrible. Then they had that resurgence when Fernandes came in, and
Chelsea,
yeah. Well, of course. I mean, Chelsea have the players, right? But it depends if Lampard can get them playing. I mean, the thing is, they had not really a great result against Liverpool, but then each and every top 6 side so far really hasn't had a
game where they drew 3-3. Was it Brighton?
Yeah, there was a game where they drew, but they and then there was the loss against Liverpool where they had 10 men. Yeah. But the thing is, each and every team, with the exception of maybe Spurs, already suffered a big defeat. That's true. So you can't really tell right now. Everton, it would be interesting with the next game because it's against Liverpool. I'm actually not looking forward to that game. So here's the thing: Everton apparently hasn't beaten Liverpool in 10 years.
Wow.
So if there is a time to beat us, it's going to be this year.
It's going to be now.
Yeah, especially, and for me, it's less about Everton and it's more about Ancelotti.
I think Ancelotti has a real knack for uncovering those players that just click in a team and that you don't expect them. And, you know, to an average football fan, Allen is, a random player. Doucouré, all right, he had if you play fantasy football, he might have been that good utility player in your team. Was it Watford? Yeah, it was Watford, I think.
Yeah.
So, but these guys are technically really sound players, and they battle. And if I think that, like Tom Davies, for example, he was a good player, but he wasn't exactly going to shrug Adama Traore off the ball, you know what I mean? You look at Allen and Doucouré, they're real workhorses and they're really tactically sound. And I think Ancelotti just has a knack for uncovering those, getting the best out of those players. So when I knew that he signed Allen and Doucouré, as someone who watches a lot of football, I told my friends, I said, those are really good signings. You know what I mean? And then you can't forget you've got Sigurdsson, excellent player.
No, but he hasn't been as good, to be honest.
He's been coming off the bench, but he's a set piece threat.
Yeah.
And he's a good passer of the ball. You know what I mean? So you've got that, like Sigurdsson, who was your starter, and Andre Gomez, who were your starters, and now they're coming off the bench. And you've got the James, Doucouré, Allen sort of line. Up front, you've got he's actually playing Richarlison out on the left somewhat, and Calvert-Lewin, and we've seen what that's done for Calvert-Lewin. He's had an amazing start to the season.
Scored on his England debut.
And scored on his England debut. So I think it's gonna. I'm really interested in looking at Everton this year. I think they could. I think if there's ever going to be another Leicester story, it could be this year with Everton.
It could be.
Speaking of Leicester, I think they have a realistic chance of Champions League this year. Last year they missed out because of injuries. That's what.
They had a lot of injuries.
They had a lot of injuries. That's how United caught up.
But it really there is that over reliance on Jamie Vardy's goals, though, isn't there?
But they've brought.
If he gets injured, they kind of drop off.
Yeah, but that's the case for any team, right? I mean, any team. If you can say the same thing, as in if they lose their star player, they're gonna drop off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that happens, it's just something they have to overcome.
That's true.
Except if you're Bayern Munich and you have a lot of depth in your squad.
No, I mean, but the thing about them is their league isn't as competitive, is it?
Controversial statement, but okay.
We do not use the term Farmers League on this podcast.
Yes, thank you. Full agreement, Ron.
Unless you're referencing PSG, so.
Oh, God.
Before we get to Serie A, one more point on the EPL.
No, but actually I want to bring up another point. If Everton do well this year, I think it's going to be positive for the league from one perspective, because it will just prove the point that you need to get world-class managers to manage your team and actually take control of the organization.
Yeah.
We've seen it in Liverpool. We've seen it with Pochettino in Spurs until it didn't go well. Brendan Rodgers is doing very well. Marcelo Bielsa, absolutely fantastic at Leeds.
We need
so
to talk
far.
about Leeds.
Absolutely fantastic. So that just proves to you that if you get a proper manager in,
Leeds in their 4-3 scorelines. Go on.
But seriously,
Yeah.
So Leeds, nobody would have imagined if you get a world-class manager, they're going to play as good, because you'd make the argument they don't have the players. Same with actually Everton have the players also, so I can't really say anything, but.
They do now.
Yeah, but it is a very strong argument about getting the right manager who actually knows what they're doing, and Premier League does have the money to attract these managers, so it can only get better and better.
I agree. I think you only have a handful of managers who can do what those managers you said did, and the fun part is when you have no-name managers who actually go and do the same thing. But like that's a topic for another day. Before we move to Serie A, I want to say something about EPL. Question to you: did Liverpool really need Thiago?
Oh yeah.
Henderson had a fantastic year. Fantastic last 2 seasons. He was maybe injury prone to a certain extent. Is that how you see it?
I think it's just about giving Liverpool an extra dimension. So the thing is that now, and it's been absolutely exposed against Aston Villa, right? We play absolutely aggressive football, high line, counter pressing, and then when it doesn't, what teams do when Aston Villa did it perfectly and they got lucky with 3 deflected goals, is that basically if you stay back and play the balls to the wingers or people that are free and actually do a very quick counter-attack of yourself, you can get a chance to hurt Liverpool. Leeds has done it, but they didn't get as lucky. and then Aston Villa did it perfectly. And what Thiago would come in to do is that basically he is very good at controlling a game and controlling the ball. In that 2-0 against Chelsea, he came on for 45 minutes and he already was controlling everything. And he just gives flexibility to bring him on, control games, dominate games. We don't have to continuously do aggressive football. We can actually take our foot off the gas a bit. And what he's doing very well is he's allowing... If you watch how he plays, he draws players towards him. And only at the very last second, once these players are drawn towards him, does he release the ball to somebody else and taking these players out of the game. So he's extremely good in what he does. But I honestly believe the more important player that we brought in was Diogo Jota and not Thiago, just because the drop-off in quality between Mane and Salah to Origi, Shaqiri or so on is too big. But then with Jota, you have somebody that actually is not at the same level of both of them, but he's much better than anybody else that was in the squad at that point. So yeah, I mean, very good signings. I expect us to, jump back from that loss. Very disappointing, but I've been telling myself like a maniac, it's a marathon, not a race.
I mean, another thing is that, do you think the introduction of Thiago, who I think is a lot more of a defense-splitting passer than Henderson, does that bode well for Firmino's goal-scoring record? I mean, you look at Firmino for Brazil, he's something, and you look at him for Liverpool, he's something completely different. Or do you think he's going to maintain that role in the team?
I think he is going to maintain that role, but and it proves it, right? If you look at his goal-scoring record for Brazil versus Liverpool, it's much, much better for Brazil. But then what he brings to Liverpool is basically drawing defenders away from that mid-space and then allowing both Mane and Salah to run in the middle and somebody to give them the ball. So if anything, his role is going to be more important, especially if Thiago's playing, because then Thiago would have the ability or the potential to find both Salah and Mane and give them a ball over the defense. Right. I think what is also very interesting in Firmino is that honestly this year he hasn't been really playing as well. He's been a bit rusty and so on. Maybe his role has been a bit different because the last few games in Brazil he was absolutely fantastic. So I'm not sure what's happening with him, but on the plus side, I don't think it's as big as a concern as it would have been before, just because we now have Minamino who's being trained to play the same role.
Right.
So obviously Minamino is not the same and doing what Firmino does, but at least there's an alternative if his form doesn't pick up. But I mean,
after that heavy defeat to Aston Villa, and I'm not trolling here, but would you think is there a crisis at Liverpool, or was it just a blip in a glitch in the matrix? Would you say, quote unquote?
I mean, Aston Villa deserved to win, but
they did
not by that big of a margin.
Yeah, I think that margin was a bit misleading.
Flattering for them.
Very flattering.
Take a lot of credit away from them.
I mean, look at it. It's three deflected goals. Obviously Alisson wasn't playing, and that to me actually Alisson is the biggest miss. If there is a big concern is the fact that Alisson is not playing.
Adrian was out of position in like 3 of those,
and the first goal is his fault just because he's not comfortable on his feet. So that's the problem always, and that's why we brought in Alisson, because Karius is not a bad goalkeeper. Mignolet is not a bad goalkeeper. Adrian is not a bad goalkeeper, but then they don't have the same positional and footwork as Alisson. And if you watch the Chelsea game again, it was a couple of I think it was Werner that was one-on-one and then missed a goal. I don't remember if it was Werner or not, but basically one-on-one, no defense, no offside, and then Alisson. Sorry, actually it was Lacazette. It was the Arsenal game. So Lacazette, two through balls, and then Alisson just comes out and catches both of them. And one of them was offside. So that's what Alisson brings you. He's just very confident on the ball. He knows where to go. He knows how to position his body. And he's very good with his feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, absolutely best goalkeeper right now.
I would say so.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Alisson
As a Buffon number one fan,
Yeah.
ultimate goalkeeper in the world.
I mean,
You cannot.
You just
yeah,
cannot.
I think Alisson is
Yeah.
one of my favorite goalkeepers in the world right
I
now,
would say-
along with Jan Oblak.
Jan
I'm a
Oblak
huge Jan
is
Oblak fan.
fantastic. Yeah, but right now I think Alisson edges.
100%.
And if there is a crisis, it would be the potential that we might have to change how we're playing just because Alisson is not there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. So moving on to Serie A, just very quickly before we wrap it up as our last segment. So Haytham, this will interest you. Fabio Capello has predicted that Inter will actually win the Scudetto this year.
It's hard for me to say good things about Inter.
I mean, okay, so let me.
Listen. I'm going to try to be as neutral as possible.
Let me put this across
I
this
had
way.
to speak about Everton.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're putting us in a tough spot, Mr. Ramy.
We're gonna cover the stories that no one else covers.
Exactly.
So,
Right?
You sure about that?
no, I mean, one thing that I think, on all jokes aside, is that Pirlo's obviously going to have a very different approach from Conte, and I think from what I see so far, it seems like he's putting a bit more emphasis on youth. So, is that going to backfire? And and from the bottom line, with the way Juve are set up now and with the way Inter are moving,
So I think-
are Inter challengers?
So I think by default, yeah, I mean, Juventus are favorites. I'm not just saying this with my Bianconeri hat on. By default, they're favorites. I think this is a unanimously accepted fact without thinking too much about it. But in terms of top challengers, absolutely. I think Inter are challengers for this season. They've got great players in Christian Eriksen, Lukaku, Romelu Lukaku. They acquired Vidal, one of Conte's favorites, and Vidal thrived in Conte's Juve. If there's one player from the Juventus machine of the 2012 onwards period when Juventus started dominating, that I'm really hung up over is Arturo Vidal. I mean, he gave everything for the club. He was our midfield engine, and it was just a pleasure watching him, whether it was going into those tackles or those passes or even scoring those long-range goals. I don't think Juventus have ever recovered from losing Vidal in midfield, and that much, even when we had Pjanic and Matuidi, who have all moved on. Khedira, I'm not going to talk about him, with all due respect. He's a good guy, but I mean, he doesn't really have that impact in our midfield. Marquisio was a great midfielder for us as well. He's retired, but yeah, I mean, Inter, so I think I digressed a bit. Yeah, so Inter, Eriksen, Vidal, Lukaku, they got Lautaro Martinez. I don't know if he's underrated or not, that doesn't get that much recognition, but Lautaro is one of the hungriest strikers you could ever see. Like on the pitch, his eyes are bulging and they're wide open, and you know that this guy is here to score.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Barcelona actually acquiring him.
He's such a threat. Yeah. I don't know if he will remain with Inter for that long. But
what about a resurgent Ashley Young at Inter?
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing. That's the thing with Conte. He brings the best out of the players, and Ashley Young is no exception. He was a very tactical player for Inter, and just like he's kind of like a utility man for them. You can play him on the right, left, and midfield winger or for wing back. Likewise, what he had at Juve, he had Simone Padue. You guys might be wondering who. Yeah, so this guy was like one of our key utility players. He's got more Scudetti than Francesco Totti. Oh my God, I'm gonna get slaughtered for that. Yeah, but I mean,
gotta get the Roma faithful up in here.
Listen, I'm a big fan. Yeah, so despite my sort of hatred to Inter, I'm a huge fan of Conte's tactics. I'm very fascinated by the way he sort of tinkers with the squad and tinkers with the formation even. He varies between the 3-5-2 and the 4-4-2 or 4-2-4 even. Looks like he's stuck to his 3-5-2 formation with Inter. and that's divided even the Inter fandom as well. Some people dislike the 3-5-2. Some people think that he should go with a 4-man defense and whatever after that. Whether a 4-man defense tactical formation. So,
I mean, surely if there's a team other than Juventus that's going to win it this year. I mean, or
he's the highest paid manager right now. I mean, Pirlo is probably like right out of the 20 Serie A managers right now. I think Pirlo's like right in the middle. I think he's like number 10. So, but Conte is number 1.
So, do you think Pirlo will stay if Juventus doesn't win this year?
Sorry?
If Juventus doesn't win this year, will Pirlo stay?
I think he might be given a second chance if there isn't a better option available next summer. I think he'll be given a second chance. I don't think there'll be that.
I think Inter have really been very adept at getting themselves back up there with the signings they've made. The change of tactics that they've deployed has really worked for them. I still think that Juve are the team to beat. How many Scudetti has it been in a row so far?
9.
It's 9. Yep. So that's nine titles in a row. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's got to be that point, and I think if Inter are ever going to challenge for it, now would be the year.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that Juve have a lot in the tank, and at the end of the day,
and you have an up-and-coming Atalanta side. Let's not forget them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love me a football Cinderella story, and I actually wanted to touch up on Atalanta. And so, was that just a case of the teams with the high wage bills underperforming, or is it a real testament to how potent Atalanta's offense is? Because I think Atalanta's strong point is goal scoring. Yeah, that's their potent offense, right?
So they have a very good mix of youth and experience. The experience in Ilicic. I mean, the guy has been phenomenal for them. Very technically strong player. They've got Martin de Roon. They've got Duvan Zapata up front. They've got Hatboyer. They've got a very interesting manager in.
Long name.
Okay, but so he's famed for his 3-5-2 formation, and he's actually an ex-Juve youth manager as well, by the way. Atalanta are known for their youth system, one of the best youth systems in Italy. Giampiero Gasperini is known for his positive formation, 3-man defense. Interestingly enough, we were talking about Inter. He coached Inter for probably, I think, 2 or 3 games and was disastrous and got fired off the
Side note, with a name like that, I'm not surprised that you blocked for remembering his name. Tell me to say his name again. I would.
Giampiero Gasperini. Yeah.
I'll say it 5 times quickly.
Right? No. I don't know why I forgot his name, but no, he's famous. Atalanta are known for having one of the best schools in Italy. I mean, the most recent graduates, they have Andrea Conti, who went to AC Milan. They had Mattia Caldara, who went to Juve, then AC Milan, and back to Atalanta. Throughout the years, they've had Montolivo, who was a key player for AC Milan. He was basically the guy that replaced Pirlo in midfield for AC Milan.
He captained them for a while.
For a while as well. Gianpaolo Pazzini, very talented goal scorer, who went to Inter for a few years. So I think watching Atalanta, for people who are Atalanta fans, I think it's a very exciting time in their history.
And they're in the Champions League.
They had an amazing run last season, and I honestly I'm almost more interested to see what Atalanta are going to do this year than Inter.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's the game I'm most looking forward to in the Champions League. Yeah. Liverpool versus Atalanta.
Definitely they will give you a run for your money.
It's going to be an exciting game.
High scoring, you reckon?
If we keep defending that same way, yeah.
Interesting. I mean, obviously we're at the start of the season, and I think it's probably going to be like really funny when we go back at the end of the season and look at this conversation, and it might be something completely different. But I think that was a really good first episode, guys, and thanks for joining. And seeing as we're in the start of the season, maybe we can end it with a couple of start of the season predictions, and then we can for fun go back at the end of the season, see who hits it or not. The first one is obviously going to be hypothetical, but who would have won this year's Ballon d'Or if they were still going to do it?
Lewandowski.
I'm probably going to go with Lewandowski.
Definitely.
For his goal scoring feats, Champions League
I
travel.
think that was quite the year.
Probably no-brainer.
No-brainer.
But I mean, I wonder, is it are Messi and Ronaldo in the equation here? Can we just address the quote-unquote elephant in the room, or if it is an elephant in the room?
I mean, the trophies always account for something.
Yeah.
And Messi didn't win any trophies. Ronaldo did.
Yeah.
But his testament is goal scoring.
Yeah.
And Lewandowski has more titles and more goals.
Yeah.
Are we having a Euros this?
They're still talking about it. They might. They actually, the last news I heard about Euro 20, which is now 2021, was that they may go ahead with it with less venues. So they were going to do it across Europe, across multiple venues. They're going to
But I believe it will still be branded as Euro 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Champions League. Bayern to repeat.
Bayern hot favorites.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this just to please you. Real Madrid outside favorites.
I like hearing that.
It's in their.
I do like to hear it. But if I want to be honest with myself, I'd say.
And not just because Yehia has been giving us a hard time today. I don't think Liverpool are in this.
I mean, for Bayern, I think they were scary last year and they're more potent now. So.
I mean, let's see what happens when Liverpool plays against Juventus.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
If you even get past the group stages.
I would want to watch that game with both of you.
We're watching that game together. We'll do a podcast after that. Yeah.
Prediction for La Liga, which would bring me to that. I would say that, again, not being biased, but I would say that with a healthy Hazard and Asensio, and with Barcelona and the turmoil they're in now, I would give La Liga to Real this year.
So if we said Atalanta are like an outside Juve, Milan, Inter, big club outsider, who would you say is that in La Liga right now? Like outside Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico maybe?
I was going to say Atletico, but I still rate Sevilla very highly.
Okay.
They're enjoyable to play. They're a little bit of a loss with some of their players leaving, but they are a fun team to play. Valencia are in turmoil. They're like they just dropped off completely. You always have the likes of Villarreal, sort of in and out, and then you get the surprise packages like Granada. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I said it before earlier in the episode, La Liga does tend to be a 3-horse race if you want to count Atletico. And there, if it's not Atletico, it was Valencia in the past. If it's not Valencia, it was Sevilla. But this year, I think, like I said, as long as Real can stay healthy and Asensio and Hazard can be back at full health, I do not see Barcelona taking it over them.
I think you guys will run away with it as well. I think Real Madrid will.
Yeah, and you don't even need Hazard. You did it last year without him.
Did it last year without him, but it was defense that won it. If we continue to choke in front of a goal, it's bound to bite us in the ass at some point. You know. EPL.
Liverpool. No, I mean at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to either Liverpool or City, whoever gets their stuff together.
You know what? I love an underdog story, and I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna say Everton may just sneak in there.
No,
I'd like to see them maintain the form because they, not just from a neutral's perspective, they've been really enjoyable to watch.
Tottenham Hotspur?
Always an outside bet, I'd say. They were really unlucky. Did you watch the Amazon Prime documentary?
I did. I enjoyed it.
That was really good.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Amazing PR.
Amazing PR for them. I have to admit, I learned a lot about the Tottenham squad and obviously about Jose Mourinho from that show. And I'm kind of back in Spurs to win it. The sake of
it may have been amazing PR, but you cannot deny injuries were so bad for them that season. They did not catch a break.
I think less than the injuries is the fact last season that they didn't sign anybody.
Well, they got Bergwijn.
Yeah,
And
but
he's
they got
good.
him in January.
Yeah,
they started the
mid-season
summer.
signing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Exactly. Like you basically just lost the Champions League. At least you have gaps in your squad. Your star players want to leave. There's a lot of unrest, and they did nothing whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're backing Liverpool, so Liverpool or Everton, I think that's what we're calling on. And obviously Manchester City are always going to be in the running.
Yeah.
Serie A, are you backing Juve?
I mean, it's hard to bet against them.
Inter.
Quite possibly, but I'm going to go with the easy choice and say I think Juventus are going to win it by a very small margin, like 1 point.
But here's the thing.
I was just going to say I think it's going to be Inter in literally the last game week.
I think it is going to go down to the wire, till the last day, yeah.
But here's the thing, right? If Juventus win it, and I think they are the favorites actually, I think it's going to be more on the players and less on the coach.
Yeah.
Unless Pirlo has a very good assistant managers with him, I don't think he's experienced enough.
I need to watch more.
But then again, neither was
games.
Zidane.
No, but here's the thing
To
with
understand
Zidane and
Pirlo.
Guardiola, which is a huge difference. They actually at least managed the B team. They had some understanding
That is
of
true.
how to manage.
That is true.
Pirlo had just started. I
It's
cannot
literally his first gig.
Exactly. I cannot think of
It's his
one
first
scenario.
game. I think we need to see a few more games of. I need to watch a few more games of Pirlo to kind of understand his philosophy and his approach. I still think it's a brand new team. It's a not really that brand new. I mean, there's a lot of familiar faces and a few new faces. Weston McKennie, awesome player by the way. Yeah, and we just got Enrico Chiesa's son.
There's that kid playing on the right. Sorry, go.
Okay, yeah, I mean, so I think with the players that Juventus have, obviously you have Chiellini, Bonucci, Danilo, Alex in defense, Merih Demiral, who's a beast in defense, by the way. I don't see Juventus faltering in this year's Serie A, and it's up to Inter and Atalanta and AC Milan even for that matter.
It's theirs to lose.
Yeah.
The player I'm trying to remember, his name is Kulusevski, by the way.
Oh yeah, Dejan Kulusevski. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
He looks
if
good.
Juventus-
extremely. Yeah, he scored already. Yeah, he's a really good player. Yeah.
I mean, if Juve can win with Sarri when the players completely couldn't take his philosophy of playing and they still won.
Yeah.
How bad can Pirlo be?
Sure. It'll be interesting. I think I think Serie A is going to be interesting because I really do think it's going to go down to the wire.
Okay, yeah.
I do think it's going to go down to the wire.
It will. Yeah.
So Bundesliga, I mean, it's easy to say that Bayern are going to run away with it.
I mean,
I have a thought on the
They lost their
Bundesliga.
last game, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still start of season.
Yeah.
I have a thought on Dortmund. Royce has been really unlucky with injuries, but Royce is for me a world-class player, and he's a world-class leader. I think with prime Royce in good shape, and I know this is going to sound like, we're not trying to link COVID into everything here, but if the fans do come back and the yellow wall is back, and if Sancho, Jude, the new youngsters keep up the good work, I do think Dortmund can challenge, but you heard how many ifs I said in that statement.
Yeah.
If Royce is healthy, if the yellow wall is back, and if the youngsters come through.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's Bayern.
I mean, yeah, Bayern is a safe bet.
Yeah. And we're not even going to talk about Liga. I mean,
Yeah.
PSG.
But Liga is actually doing well right now.
But will they ever challenge PSG? Ever. Like, literally ever challenge PSG.
I don't know. Maybe Neymar will get injured again for his sister's birthday.
I mean, despite a
For his sister's birthday.
This,
He gets injured on his sister's birthday every year.
Yeah, that's accurate. he has a track record of that. I mean, PSG is PSG.
Yeah, exactly.
Despite the bumpy start, I think they'll definitely be in the top two this season. But the French league, historically, especially in the 90s, barring the Lyon domination of the 2000s, I think they had like 8 or 9 in a row, has been historically a very unpredictable league. But yeah.
Obviously the acquisition.
Until
and then
PSG came and just owned that league. No?
I mean, like Marseille were always like a team with a lot of history, but
Yeah.
just never there enough to. And then when you honestly when you go for Mario Balotelli as your striker, you're desperate.
Yes,
you know.
exactly.
So,
yeah.
well, and I think that's a good note to end on. I think, you know, by the next time we do another episode, there's going to be a lot more results out, and I think the first round of Champions League would have been run. We'd have a few game weeks in hand, and I think we'll have a lot more to talk about. But thank you guys for joining on the first episode. I look forward to having you guys on regularly. And this was really interesting. So thanks for joining.
Thank you, Ramy. Thank you. Yeah.
We'll be back on very, very soon, hopefully. We'll try to keep these podcast episodes as frequently as possible. Thanks for listening in. Goodbye.